Hi everyone, I'm so glad you're here for another sewing video. I am making a pinafore today. I found a really gorgeous bed sheet at the thrift store and I just think it needs to be a pinafore. I think it'll be so pretty. So I will show you what I'm doing. I'm kind of using a couple pieces from a couple of different patterns to put this together. So I will share that with you in case you want to make this too. And my babies are napping. It's time to get to work. Disclaimer time, I am not a professional seamstress. I make mistakes and I'm still learning a lot. I'm just doing things the way that works for me, and the way that I do things may not always be technically correct. And I'm sorry if that annoys some of you. I'm a busy mom of two and I like to just focus on keeping things simple and efficient in my very limited sewing time. So if I'm not your cup of tea, that is totally okay. There are lots of amazing professional seamstresses to watch online, but I hope you'll stick around to hang out and we can make some really lovely things together. So thanks for listening, friends. Now let's get into the video. So this is what we're working with. Isn't that just so pretty? I love all the flowers and the colors. I just think are gorgeous. So this used to be a fitted sheet. I've taken the elastic out so that it'll lay nicely while I'm trying to, cut everything out and work with it. But I just think it's so pretty. So I'm going to make this a pinafore. So I'm using this bodice front piece. I'll show you the pattern it's from in a minute. And I've just folded it over. So it would be out like this to make an actual bodice, but I've folded it over and kind of pinned it that way so that it'll be more of a, kind of classic pinafore type of look. And then I'm going to connect straps to the shoulder up there. So we'll have straps in the back. Then I'm using this big, glorious skirt piece. And this is actually from the 1950s dress pattern. If you've seen my 1950s dress video, that's what this is from. I will show you the pattern for it in a second though. It's just such a big full skirt. I just love using it. So I think it'll make a really flowy, beautiful skirt for this pinafore. And then this excess fabric over here and over here, I'm going to use to make the straps and the waistband. So I'm using the skirt portion from this pattern, if you want to take note of that. Just the skirt portion, and I'm cutting two of them. And then I'm using the bodice front from this pattern. Obviously, I'm modifying it a little bit, so it won't actually be a full bodice. It's going to be more of a simple pinafore front, but it just gives me a good guide. I could obviously kind of draft that myself or wing it since it is so simple, but I had this on hand, so I figured this would make it a little bit faster and easier. So I'm going to get to work on cutting those out. I'm doing two of the skirt panels, so I'll show you real quick actually. So I'm cutting the bodice portion on the fold here. So it'll fold out and that'll be the front. And then I'm cutting two of these giant skirt panels. This skirt is going to be incredible. I'm so excited about it. So I have my fabric, just in case you couldn't see here. This is folded over. So when I cut that, there's going to be two of these. All right, let's get to work on cutting these out. So you can see my super professional setup here with using all kinds of random stuff to hold my pieces down as I cut them out. Ain't nobody got time to sit there and pin these all down and unpin them again. It's just unnecessary in my opinion. I'm sorry if that bugs some of you. And then I'm cutting out my straps here and my waistband as well. And so I just kind of make a small cut and then I fold the fabric over and follow that line to make sure that everything stays nice and straight and even as I'm cutting it out. Which as I say that, you can see that there are a few bits there that were not straight. Oh well, fixed it, no big deal. And then here I'm cutting a lining for the front piece as well. So you're gonna see in just a minute, I will show you all of the pieces cut out and what they are. And I'll also give you measurements for the straps and the waistband in a second. So here is my big, beautiful, full, swooshy skirt. I cannot wait for you to see it in the reveal, although I guess you kind of saw it in the thumbnail a little bit, but wait to see it in motion. It's beautiful. And then this is my front piece with the lining. There's my straps and my waistband, and I will tell you those measurements right here. Okay, so the straps are 6 by 26, and the waistband is 4 by 56. All right, so now those two pieces that make up the lining and the front of the bib portion of the pinafore, I'm just attaching those right sides together so that I can sew that seam and have those pieces ready to go to then be put right sides together like I'm doing there, where I will sew along the edges so we can flip it right side out. You'll see that in just a moment. I have tried this voiceover like 6 times now because I'm having a really hard time explaining what I'm doing, so hopefully you can understand just from seeing what I'm doing, kind of what's going on, but I will do my best to add some clarity with this voiceover. So there we go, those two pieces that make up the front and then the two pieces that make up the lining. I have sewn those together, and now I'm going to put those two pieces right sides together, and I will sew all along the edge, leaving the bottom open so that I can flip the whole thing right side out in a moment, and all those raw edges will be tucked away nicely. So that's what I'm doing there, sewing all along the edges, all the way around except for at the bottom. And then later, when I go to flip this right side out, once it's all ironed, I'll go in and kind of flip the bottom of that in and sew it down so that the bottom is closed as well. Sorry, ran out of bobbin thread there. I had a bunch of bobbins that were like half used, so I wanted to use them up, but it just meant I was running out of bobbin thread all the time. So no big deal, back to it. That is almost sewn together. There we go, the bib front is sewn together. I will flip it right side out in just a moment and iron it down. Here I am sewing down the length of the waistband piece. So this piece I have just folded right sides together and then sewn it into a big long tube. Same thing for the straps, right sides together, sew it into a big long tube, and we're going to flip those right side out in a minute and iron them so that they're nice and neat and ready to be attached. And then here I'm just connecting the two skirt panels. So I've just put those right sides together along those two seams to connect those two giant panels. And then in a moment, I'm going to work on the hem. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm clipping every few inches along the hem, just adding a few small little cuts so that when I go to roll the hem, like I'm doing right here, I'm just rolling it under and then sewing over it so that those edges are nice and clean and I have a nice, neat hem. Thankfully, even though this was a very curved edge, the clipping that I did every few inches really helped, and I was able to roll this hem without any issues. Surprisingly, I was kind of dreading doing that for the hem, but it went great, and it's a nice clean rolled hem. So how many times can I say hem? And then here I'm just doing the same thing along the waist to kind of make sure that that's cleaned up a little bit and ready to be attached to the waistband. And now for ironing, a little tedious, but always so satisfying because everything just looks so nice and neat afterwards. So I'm just using a safety pin to go through and flip those tubes for the straps and the waistband right side out. And then I iron them down. Now I'm flipping right side out the bib front, getting that ironed nicely, and figuring out where I want my straps to go. So you'll see I kind of had to flip and tuck a little piece of that shoulder portion of the bib front in order to get that to line up nicely with the straps. So that's a, kind of modification you could make if you were doing this. You can learn from my mistakes, but it ended up working fine. I think it looked fine. And then here I've just put the waistband right sides together with the waist of the skirt, and I'm sewing that onto there. And this is just going to be a tie closure in the back. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know I really like tie closures because they're just so easy. So we're doing it again for this. You could obviously do any kind of closures that you want. And then I'm just flipping the ends of my straps and my waistband, my bib front, all of those open bits that we had still there. I've just flipped them in and sewed them down so that they are closed. And then I'm just putting the bib front on to where I want it to be on the skirt. I think I got that pinned on there. And then attaching the straps to the shoulder of the bib front. Super simple. You could use some forethought here and attach those straps into the shoulders so that they're kind of more seamless, but I just didn't do that. Again, learn from my mistakes. And then I'm taking in the sides of the bib front as well to make it a little bit more narrow. Another thing you could do, I'll talk about that at the end of the video, kind of a couple things that I would do differently. But it still turned out super cute. It's fine, you know, we tried something new with this design. It seems silly to even do that because it was just a couple random pattern pieces, but you know, the design of this pinafore, you can do it a little bit differently, but I think it still turned out cute. And then I just attached the bib front onto there and the inside of the skirt. And here it is. So pretty, so swooshy. It was done really fast, which, you know, I know that may not really matter to some of you, but for me, as a busy mama, I don't have a ton of time to sew. So if I can do a really quick project, that's just a huge win for me. And I just feel so pretty wearing it. It's just gorgeous. I'm so happy with it. And I had to spin and twirl in it 1,000 times. All right, I think it turned out so pretty. I'm really, really happy with it. I think the floral pattern is just so pretty on its own that it does so much of the work of making it look nice. I feel like you can make something really simple with this fabric and it would just look gorgeous because the floral pattern is so gorgeous. So I'm really glad that I found this bed sheet. I'm so happy that I was able to turn it into something pretty that I can wear. I will go in and make this a little more narrow. I do feel like this is too wide. So my idea using that pattern piece the way that I did, I think was on the right track, but it just ended up being a little bit too wide. So thankfully that's easy to fix. So I will make this a little more narrow. But other than that, I'm really happy with it. I just think it turned out so pretty. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me while I sew this. And if you want to make your own pinafore, pinafores are so easy. They're a great place to start if you're new to sewing. They were some of my very first projects and I still just love making them and wearing them. They're just so cute. So thanks for being here, you guys. I hope you'll come back very, very soon for more sewing videos and day in the life videos, all kinds of stuff that I do over here on this channel. So thanks again for being here. Bye.